All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lunch and Learn today. My name's Jeremy. It's been a little while since I've been leading y'all, but I am here to lead our Lunch and Learn today, one of the trainers at Decisions. So I'm going to go through some of the usual stuff, but as people are coming in, if you have questions, please post them in the chat. Happy to discuss anything that you'd like to talk about for today. While I give people some time to join in and type up any questions in the Q&A, I will go ahead and talk about some of our things. So we've got our YouTube channel. Keep an eye on our YouTube channel. It's where we post our lunch and learns. It's also where we'll update various content topics. So when we have some really unique or interesting topics and things like that, we'll be posting lots of videos up there. For example, we'll be working on one that focuses pretty heavily on the brand new Flex layout. Anytime we have other new updates and just really cool things that get added to decisions, we'll put them on our YouTube channel. So if you're curious, subscribe to that. Check out the videos, like the ones that you're interested in, or let us know if there's something that you're looking for that we don't have on our channel, and we'd be happy to discuss it. Other things you can check out our Decision Solutions Marketplace. That's at marketplace.decisions.com. That's got a lot of really cool accelerators and other tools and things that you can actually just import into your systems, and then have a lot of really cool working things that you can try out and take a look at. So if you're curious about any of those things and some of the capabilities we have, or if you want to use those as inspiration, definitely check those out as well. And then finally, if you're curious about any upcoming events and things, you can go to decisions.com/events. The only one that I'm aware of at the moment is our biweekly roadmap review. So every couple weeks, we have different review sessions. So we'll hold these, I think it's every other Tuesday. So if you're curious about any upcoming features and things that are coming to Decisions, you can join that webinar and hear about what we have going. So definitely check that out if you're curious. And as we have other events and things planned and prepared, we'll also have those up on decisions.com/events. So if there are other additional upcoming webinars, you can check those out as well. At the moment, I don't think we have anything announced, or at least on the website, but you can definitely check it out if you're curious. All right, so with that in mind, though, we can go ahead and get started and start going to some of our questions. Again, if you have any questions, please post them in the Q&A and I'd be happy to discuss. We've got one in the Q&A so far, so we will go to that. And then afterwards, we can start talking about anything else if anyone is curious. So I will start with Mark. You have a question. We'll go with that one first. I'll give you the opportunity to speak as well if you want to add anything, but I'll read your question out loud first. And that question is, I need to create a health check endpoint, but the normal flow and API requires authentication and would prefer something with no authentication. So Mark, go ahead. If you have anything to add to that, just let me know so I can have a little bit more understanding of
Uh,
what you're looking for here.
I think it's self-explanatory, but yeah, typically, right, things, a health check like is, the decisions platform up will be called from in AWS from the load balancer, and yeah, normally that shouldn't have any type of authentication.
Got it. Okay.
So I kind of looked at the API documentation and it says no, if you send a request to a flow, a REST API without authentication, it's gonna throw a invalid authentication. And it doesn't look like there's any way to override a single flow to tell it, no, I don't want authentication on this flow. At least not that I'm aware of.
So let me just clarify. Are you talking about taking a flow that you've built in Decisions
Correct.
and opening it like through here to configure it through an
Yes.
API service like
Yeah.
this? Okay, got it.
Yes.
Um, so with this, why isn't that updating? Yes. So yeah. So and setting this up and doing this, there are various like types of things that you'll need to open up to kind of require that in different ways. One of the ways that you can work with this is to set up a named session. That's one way that you
Correct.
might be able to use. So have
Yeah.
you done that, and how does that?
Yeah, that's how the rest of our flows work. But Yeah, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but I was just wondering whether there was a way to disable authentication for a particular flow completely.
Got it. I'm not 100% certain if there is a full way to like fully disable it because I think we don't want to, just allow like full access. I think that's mainly the reason why. Unless Gregory, you know of something different that you would use like to completely get around that concept.
As far as authentication is concerned, the only thing I could think of to avoid authentication, and you're trying to avoid creating a static session ID to authenticate with, is that
Yeah,
what you're?
yeah. Well, I mean, trying to avoid any, I mean, so in the flow, all I do is return uptime and, success that, where that decisions is alive, right? This is for basic, system-wide monitoring that, everything's up and running and there's no problems. Um, so unless there's a built-in endpoint in decision somewhere that does something similar that, again, doesn't, just basically says, yep, I'm up, everything's good.
Um, I was I guess there are two things to think of. One would be you can in your I'm guessing you're making a post call to a flow to get that information. Like that's the idea behind it.
It's a get, but yeah,
Oh, it's a
same.
get call.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that does make this a bit trickier.
Well, I could turn it into a post. What difference would it make?
With a post call, you could create a statically available named session that would have permission to access that. And all you would do inside of that is pass that unchanging session ID into the post call and then get your information back. So you wouldn't have to keep like a login sort of thing. You wouldn't need to pass in username, password, or anything like that.
Oh, well, that's what we currently do. It works for get, post, put. Yeah,
Okay,
that,
but we're looking for no auth on this.
yeah,
How
yeah.
would we get no auth?
Documentation seems to indicate that that's not possible, but I thought it was worth asking.
The only thing I could think of is using the post to flow handler behavior. I wonder if that would get around it. That's my only thought because it's designed to be configured by API by default. Have you tried the post to flow handler behavior yet?
I have not. I haven't heard of it.
It's designed mostly to handle very dynamic data that's coming inside of decisions. So,
Mhm.
like if you're passing in all sorts of different kind of data that can vary, it can it can be a little bit more lenient in the way that it can take that in and work with it.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, can we create a post to flow here? So under create flow, just under flow behavior, I think it's like post to flow, something like that. I know it's an advancement. If we just search post, I know it will come up. There
Yeah.
it is, post to flow handler. That's the one. I don't know if this will work, but this would be my last thought that I would have as far as something that may not require authentication.
Mhm.
Oh, of course, my decision is going to be weird today.
Okay, and then let's hit view in the top right. You don't need to set it up for API because everything's already configured for API. Does it need any authentication? It may not. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You may not need it. I think in the properties of the flow, if I recall, you can actually set up what kind of authentication it has
Mhm. Mhm.
automatically. Yeah, yeah. So use this flow account as that property. So this may be a way to do that.
And is this available in version 8?
Yes, this has been
Yes.
around a while.
Okay, okay. So post to flow.
Yeah. Not a
All right.
guarantee, but this might be the next thing to try.
Perfect. No, it does look a bit more promising. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
No problem. And thank you, Gregory, for bringing that up. All right. Well, we will move on to our next question for now, but we can always come back if you come up with more questions, Mark, while we're going for today. Just
Thanks.
post another one and we can definitely come back and chat. So our next question is from Alexander, and we also have another one from Osalama, so we'll get to yours in a moment as well. Alexander, I can share a couple cool things about this. So Alexander's question is, I need to import an Excel file and create an Excel report out of it. What tools does Decision offer for manipulating an Excel report? Great question. So we actually do have a lot of Excel focused steps in decisions. So if you go to in your toolbox under data, there's actually an Excel and CSV category that has a whole list of various Excel functions that you can actually do. So there's various conversions and things if you already have it. If you don't even have it yet, you can actually just create an Excel from here. So you can actually just have it generate a new Excel file. Of course, my decisions is going to do this to me while I'm like right when it's time for lunch and learn. But yeah, so there's all kinds of Excel steps that you can use um, for like creating a new file. You can add things and remove things to it. There's a whole line of things, usually towards the bottom section of it, where you can like remove rows and then you can set various values within all of your fields in the cells and everything there. So you can actually set colors, backgrounds, fonts, and all that kind of stuff. And there's also set values in row, set values in column. And so you can actually pass in data that you have from your flow to set values in specific columns and rows and things within the Excel file. So you have the capability of both manipulating an existing one. So if you already have one, you can replace things, move things, shift things, get data from them already to use within decisions. But you can also completely create like a full Excel file from scratch, actually. So there are a lot of pretty cool tools that we have at our disposal here related to this. And we actually have a video on our YouTube channel about this. So I'm going to put that in the chat here. But we actually made a video once that was kind of just showing off some of these. It's not necessarily like fully like a full walkthrough, I guess, of every step because there's so many
Mhm.
steps here. But we do have just as a good example of just creating a couple ways to create an Excel file and then a couple things you can do after you've created it to get that data out somewhere.
Actually,
There's
I
a
have a
few.
really weird request for the file.
Okay.
Um, Basically, it's going to almost look like an X and Y plot where I have a list of like IDs on the left side and then a bunch of fields on the columns, right?
Hmm.
And then essentially I have the import file has a list of SKUs combined with their photo, the type of photo that it is. And then each photo basically is its own category. So basically what I need to do is move all um I need to move all relevant photos into the same row, right? So if it's a
Hmm.
front-facing photo, for item I, then it needs to go into the front-facing column for item I. So
Okay.
it's a little bit different.
Okay, but yeah, but so the idea is you're trying to get data from one thing and put it into another Excel file essentially.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So so yeah, so we have all the steps that we have in here are definitely able to do some of that function depending on what you're getting. And since you're placing it in decisions, you have the ability to like manipulate that um like indecisions before it gets added to your new file. So it's really just going to be a combination of you can use gets and stuff if you need to get like specific values from a certain column or anything like that from your the first one that has all of the data and everything in it, right? You can get values from um like specific things. There's also a for each Excel or CSV row. So you can actually take in like each row of a particular file and stuff, and then do something with that individually as well. So you could maybe get that row and then add it back to your to the new one that you want to create. And then the same thing is just simply getting your like set values in row or set values in column to place them exactly where you want them. And along with this, that you can specify exactly where they go. So once you pull your data from your Excel file with your for each with your get row, get column, whatever kinds of like steps that you have, you can then manipulate them in decisions if you need to. But then from there, you can easily just set those values. So you actually can pick exactly which row and column they go on. So, if you already have your kind of template that has all of your headers there, then obviously you'd want to start it at the next one below it, things like that. And you can set them by the row. So you can set like an entire row of things, or you can set them by the column. So if you use or set values in column or set values in row, you can actually set them, going horizontally or going vertically to place them exactly as you want to. It definitely takes a little bit for sure of like playing around to get used to, um, like how exactly they change. But this video, we kind of like discuss a little bit about it's like some of the steps that you can use and a little bit about like the row start, column start, like concepts. Um, and then we have like a little example here that just walks through an example of taking in lists within decisions, like pretending that you have a list of data from some other source and passing it in through these set value steps to place the values of the lists. So we do it like fully in here from scratch, but you could very easily just take some of these steps capabilities and say, well, in my example, my list is just as an input because I was just kind of doing a static example here. But then your example could be that list is coming from the output of your other Excel file that has all the data on it. You can pull that into a list and then start placing all of those with your set values and things to get them exactly
Is
into
there
place.
the only thing with decisions is the way they format data and the way they just like when you're viewing a step to see the output and like kind of get an idea of what happened, make sure everything's working right. It seems to
Hmm.
give like more of a JSON format rather than
Hmm.
like a tabular format. Is there any way to, you know, change that view? I doubt it, but worth asking.
I think it's not necessarily. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily change the view, but I guess while it's working and while you look in the debugger, that is the view I think that you're going to have to look at. If there is a setting that you can change that, I'm not familiar with it. Um, it doesn't necessarily mean that it'll change your data. I think it's just the way that it views it when you're running it in the debugger. Um, I don't know if you can actually change that or not. To change what this looks like. If anything, it would be a setting in the system settings. I don't think so. Yeah, no, I don't think it can be changed unless someone else on the call knows for sure if it can. I don't think it can.
Yeah, I know it was a wild ask. I know that's just not the norm for decisions on how it exports or lets you view data in transit, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, but I know that's mostly just the viewing and the debugger. It shouldn't affect anything with the formatting of your data as it's pushing through the process. So if you need it to be in a particular format before or after, like obviously I know that you probably know there's a lot of steps that can, that use it in other formats, not just JSON format. Steps that allow you to push things and change things in other formats for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Um,
But it's still kind of like the view of it all is still
yeah, the view
JSON,
of it
but
all, definitely. I don't
um
think it'll change that much, but you can still like open up the files. You can download them. You can have viewers that will let you view the files. Like a form, you can put a document viewer in it, for example, and let you just look at the files so you can kind of see if it's, going through your process the right way that you want. Um, in a form, you can have a document viewer on a form, so then you can pass the file in there, even just to kind of check your work while it's going, while it adds things to the Excel file to make sure it's adding them properly. And there's other ways in the video. At the end of the video, we discussed like a couple ways to export that file once it's done. So you could look at those as well. But I think if you're trying to at least make sure that everything's going into your form while you're working, just like a simple form with the document viewer inside it might be a nice simple way to just kind of check and confirm that it's doing the way you like, that it looks the way you want it. You can just have a document viewer um, running, and you can have it like take in the file data of your Excel file or whatever, so it can display the data for you, even just for like while you're testing to make sure that it's running smoothly and showing you what you want it to show you. That might also work.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, yeah, I'll try all that, and I think that should work. You said you had a link that you're gonna put in the chat.
Yep, I posted it. Oops, I posted it to the hosts, not to everyone. Let me type that in again. There we go.
Great, thank you.
Yep, of course, no problem. All right, now we have a question that's kind of a follow-up from yesterday. Okay, so for those that attended yesterday, Osalama had some questions about rules and the functionality of rules, and then sent us a little message giving us more details about the specifics of that rule. So let me just grab that real quick, make sure I have the view here. So a lot of rules about trying to understand how to set up the if-then statements and some of the capabilities of our rules and decisions. You gave us some good descriptions here of some of your rules so that I can try to demo this a little bit and show you what we can do with rules here. I just got a file. I can download this and import it really quick.
It's a project. I sent the whole project over.
Yep.
Cool, cool.
Pulling it up now. And I'll let you talk too, so you can add and ask questions and stuff while we're looking at this.
Cool, cool.
Okay, there we go.
So there are going to be two different projects in here, statement rule and the truth table. I started with the statement rule, but I think the truth table is going to actually be what is going to contain what we need for this particular set. You gave me kind of an outline, and the idea of the truth table is it's going to have a list of conditions that would need to be met. I forgot to delete a column in that at the very end, the blank one right there. But you would have it check for the previous purchase date being null, compare it to the outstanding amount. If both of those are met, it performs the action on the right, which changes the update. If neither of those work, it goes to the next column, sorry, the next row, and it checks for that condition. So you're getting kind of your if-else statements by going and checking different data types, like different variables that you're passing in, performing a logic check on them, and depending if it's true or false, it outputs that. And then that has no match outcome is your final else, which is basically saying, okay, none of these were met, put out this instead.
So, so the idea is creating a truth table and not just your regular rule.
That's what it seems like would work best if you're trying to perform different
because at the end
data
of the
changes for every single one.
At the end of the day, we want to run this rule through flows.
You said you want to run this rule in a flow. Is that what you said?
Yeah, yeah,
Yep. So then all we have to do, if I create
yeah. Okay.
if I just create a flow, since we made a truth table, well, I'll use the truth table, but even if we end up you use a rule, right? You can just grab a run rule step or a run truth table step, and you can pull that truth table from the existing truth table that we made. So the one that Gregory had made, and then we can run it. There's all the inputs, so you can pass in all of the actual specific details that you need, from wherever they're coming in your system. And then there's also this tab up here at the top that you can have it either output everything that matches, or what I assume would be the real case from reading your example, you'd want it to output the first match. So as soon as it finds, one of those matches, it'll run the truth table through with that data. But then that'll just simply in the flow, it'll run this and it'll calculate all those things and then make the changes to your data accordingly.
If I want to try and understand the truth table, so if you scroll to the left, so the purchase, so okay, you're basically having a data point purchase date as a column. Then the action is the second one, right? The outstanding amount greater than.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you're just basically trying to put them into the truth table as a statement.
Yes, especially because since your example that you had sent us, it was quite complex with some like a lot of ifs and things that needed to be like conditions that needed to be met. So this allows us to set these different items. As long as you have your inputs, then you can simply just add a new column and then pick a data element corresponding to any one of those inputs, right? So that's how we added each of these new columns here. Started with the purchase date, since that was the kind of overarching one that needed to apply in all cases, and then your sub properties. Once you have each of your columns added for what you want to reference, if certain columns aren't required or don't need to be associated with, for example, the outstanding amount, then you can just set those columns to be ignored. So, right, when you first place it in, it'll look like this. But if you hit your three dots, you can just ignore the condition. And so now it'll only take into account previous purchase date and outstanding amount from this first one, right? And then it'll check those. And if those apply, right, if it finds that it does match with this date being null and this amount being greater than whatever you put in here, then it'll go to the action here. And then on the next set, it's ignoring outstanding amount because now I just want to check if this is null, and if the purchase date is not this thing, then and then ignore this again, it'll do the change over here. So you just set anything that doesn't apply to ignore. This allows you to kind of have your separate conditions for each of those different if statements, because it just becomes increasingly more complex and difficult to navigate in the statement rule when you have kind of like one rule that does a lot in it like this. Truth table makes that a little bit easier to view. It's a nice visual as well, I think, and they can kind of cover a lot of these things.
It's also not possible to do your specific one in a single statement because you have to perform multiple actions based upon each one. And the statement only has an action that can be performed on either true or false.
So is it possible to sort of like run the rule individually in a flow? Or maybe, for instance, you take purchase date and create a rule, create a flow, then use the create data step to sort of link that and all of that.
If you want it to run like if you want just this first line to run separately and not do the other lines, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I want everything to run in a single flow.
Yes, well, so because they're all built in the truth table, then simply running this in a flow, you can run the entire truth table in the flow. So the truth table will run all iterations of this rule at once when it reaches this step.
Okay, all right. I think this video will be available, yeah?
Yes.
I can take a look again.
It'll end up on YouTube, on our YouTube channel after this.
I think the other one talked about some, second question. Some parts. I think we are done with this one now. Maybe we can go to the second one. Because that one did seem as complex, but the only complex part was when you talk about the sum of values.
I have not had the time to create the other one yet, so I will still continue working on that.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I can check. I can check later.
I'll
Because
follow
when
up on the email thread with it as well.
okay.
Yes. And I can highlight just a couple quick things just to get you thinking about it, and then we'll follow up with like the more detailed description when we can. But the biggest thing that we're looking for is once you get like your if statements out there, then you'll need to be able to add some kind of action for your then process, which is, you know, where in your first example, it's just changing data. In the second example you sent us, right, you have to sum up some values, right, add some values and things like that. So in order to add those extra functionalities, you need to be able to add actions as an output. So in your truth table, it's just with these actions on the side. There's a little button over here. You can check this that lets you allow actions. So then you can actually add specific actions. It adds this whole second column here in the output. So then if you click on the add button, what you can do is you can actually have it, you know, change various things. So, you know, what Gregory had built in here were some change values. So you can change the value of some previous existing item, right? And so, you know, and in your examples you gave us, it says, well, I want to change this value of, you know, whatever this first thing is. Like if I want to change this value to a different thing, I can do that, and then I can set what exactly I want to change it to. So that's just this allow actions that allows me to, you know, have this whole column, and then I can have those work. The other thing you can do with this also is you can have it run a flow on this output. So if you do want to actually have it like run any particular flow, I'll just grab this as an example, right? Then when it reaches this, then it can run some flow that you built and then have that flow output the data or do what it needs to do. So like that might be the way of you being able to manipulate data in a different way. So in addition to being able to just change data, you can actually have it run a flow, and you could use that flow to calculate a sum or do something else like that. So, you know, when you're looking for more complex things in your outputs, like trying to output a calculation or output it to do something else, you always have the ability with these extra actions to run a flow, to like add text to something, or to just completely change the value of something there on the output. And you also have the ability to do that inside a rule as well. So if let me just jump to the rule example. So you'll notice on the then output here, so this is only if you have a like a simple rule that you don't need to add like,
Yeah,
right, like that's not as
familiar with this one.
complex, but we can still do the same thing out here. On the result, you can either output brand new data, so you can make it output a string or something else, or you can do the same thing, the change value, run a flow. If you have a flow that you want to do your calculation, you can set those things up on the outputs of your rules as well. And
Yeah,
we can get back to you with more detailed stuff based on what exactly you're
yeah,
trying to look for later.
yeah, that works. Then where do I find this video? How do I find it? Are you gonna send a link?
So we'll put it on our YouTube channel. I can link our YouTube channel here. That's not what I meant to do.
And then the other question I had was, I have a use case where we were thinking of using decision as one of the solutions for ETL, and I've not come across anything like that, so I was just checking the possibilities and how to go about it.
Sorry, you want to use decisions for what? I didn't quite hear you.
ETL.
ETL.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, yes, you can absolutely use decisions for that. You can use decisions to get data from a bunch of sources, transform it, and then put it into one format. That is absolutely possible. If you're fetching those sources from different APIs, you're going to probably want to start by creating those API connections or those database connections wherever you're fetching that information from inside of your project. You can bring it in, create decision structures or one large decision structure to handle everything, and then you can do whatever you want with it after that.
Okay, so the first step is creating API.
First step is creating connection to wherever you're bringing that data in, right? Because the
Okay.
ETL process requires you to bring in outside data
Yeah.
from various sources. So make those connections first. That's always going to be under manage integrations. And then depending on whatever kind of integration you're setting up, if it's an API call you're trying to get information from, it'll be external
Mm-hmm.
services. If you're trying to connect to an external database, you'll click on databases. And you can create as many of these as you want inside of the project. You are not restricted.
Okay. So, is there any other thing that is required? Like once this integration is done and you're able to put those data into uh, decision, then you have to create flows to sort of clean those data, then put them somewhere.
So when you create an external service integration, any sort of REST integration or something like that, once you actually add the service, then the method becomes a step. And that step can be used in any flow inside the project. That step can fetch information, pass out information, whatever kind of call you're making for that service, right? You're probably making a fetch call if you're going to be doing that. Here we've got some that have been created already. So this has a fetch credit report data in it. And then the method is the get borrower details, which means get borrower details is now a step inside of the flow that you can utilize to fetch that information anytime you run the flow.
It's under integration REST services, and then you'll see the REST service that you have set up, which in my example is called fetch credit report data. And then here's the step called get borrower details. That's the method that I set up. So I can place this step now into my flow, set up the inputs that it needs, and it'll run that call to the other service and then output its data for me.
Okay.
And again, so that's adding a REST service.
The
And then
other
inside the service, adding a method to it.
The other one is if you're fetching from a database, once you create the database connection, you don't automatically get the step to do it. In order to create the step, you actually have to go to one of your designer folders and then create your data structure button. You know, the one where you actually make the data types in. And there's going to be a section called database integrations. That's where you can pick all the different kinds of steps that you can create to fetch information. If you want to get stuff that's in a view in your database, from running a procedure, get all the information in a table with a table integration, or a query integration if you want it specific for certain information in the database. This is where you would set that up. And with that database connection, you can just say, I want it from this database, and you create it and fetch it there.
That's like if I pick that, you get select the connection. So I don't have an external database connected, so I can only do my local connection. But if you had an external database set up, like Gregory mentioned, where if I set that up, I'd have more options here that I could choose to set and connect with other databases to build those tables. You know, and if I grabbed, something like this, and I can generate the table, and then there's a list of the types of steps related to that table that I can build. Any other questions related to that? Or are we good for now?
No question for now. I'll go through this. Then I'll wait for your response on the other one, the other question.
Okay. All right, we have another question here from William Midwood that says, from a follow-up question I asked yesterday. I asked yesterday on how to input a form to upload a, oh, sorry. Mark, awesome. Glad that it worked for you. Awesome.
Do you mind me just explaining it verbally, if that's
Yeah,
okay?
go right ahead. Yeah, go right
I
ahead.
think I'm stuck. I was here yesterday for some questions. I got clarity, but I was lost with direction because I checked on the YouTube channel. You've not posted yesterday's uh video there. We only have the last one on the 25th.
Yes. I'll put that
Um,
one up right after this.
so I think Gregory was here yesterday, but if he cannot answer, maybe you can help. I was trying to create a form that allows me to upload a document. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole idea of it is that when I upload this document, which is in PDF, I want the AI module, maybe OpenAI or anyone, to help me read these documents, read the tables exactly in the document, and create records. There's a part on the document that is called factors. So I wanted to create a factor records from that document and output it in JSON line format. So while Greg did a lot of work explaining to me, fixing the form, how to configure the form and the whatnots, because I couldn't get a video to follow up on that as yesterday's video, I didn't know how to, after the form, definitely to attach the AI model I want to use to the flow, and also how do I configure that AI model to help me read the tables uh, from that form on the flow, and also how do I configure or how do I create records, factor records from that document, which is uh, from how do I create factor records? Those factors are on that document. So how do I do that all on the flow to get a flow that helps me to read that table and also create a record of that factor from that table? So where I'm stuck is I've done the whole setup of getting the template sectors and the IDs and the criteria IDs, and I've attached the form at the end of the flow. But I need to
Mm-hmm.
impute the AI model I'm going to use. That's the open AI, which
Okay.
will allow me, which will help me, I mean, read that document. And that open AI also will read the tables per se, the tables on that document, and create a record of that table on the on the on the flow. Yeah.
Okay.
And outputs it in JSON line format. Yeah.
Sure. So, have you gotten the AI module ready and like connection to the AI module set up yet? Or is that still something you're looking for as well?
That's another bottleneck we've had. I don't know whether you know Jessica, the boss in your company. She was meant to give us a demo of some few things. Is it Jessica and one
Okay.
of that? So I've been emailing her for like 2 days now. I've not gotten a reply from
Okay.
her. So
So,
we agreed on OpenAI, I think, but we don't have the API key yet to be able to use them. But if I create a
got it.
flow in question, I think when we intend to use it, when we have the API key, maybe it gives me a better idea of what to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So, in our administration features, right, we have all our modules. So if you want the OpenAI, all you have to do is install the OpenAI module.
It's
Um,
already installed on our
okay.
yeah,
Excellent.
on our,
Let me
yeah.
just install it really quick so I can see the stuff for mine because I don't have it yet. All right. So I got that. And then in my project, I just need to make that a dependency so that I can actually have that AI module usable. So I'm going to
Okay.
grab my OpenAI modules under my dependencies. So now once the dependency is set, now in this project, you'll see I actually have under integrations a whole section of the prompts and things. So if you want to set up, so here you can set up like your prompts and your details with the AI in mind. So you can actually start to set up like the various details and things like that inside here. So you can actually pull prompts directly. This is just like a little management tool we have so you can build
Okay.
up like what you want to send to your AI.
Okay.
That's all set up in here. So you can manipulate that. And then once we have our flows, there will be a whole list of steps within decisions that are related to all of your AI so you can pass things into it. So you'll see if I go to all steps, I actually have an AI category in here. And underneath it, you'll find a list of the things that you have available. So there's the AI common, which is just a common one that's always required. If you're only going to be using OpenAI, then obviously you can go into here and you can actually find a whole a set of like steps that are related to that particular AI model and everything that you can do with it. So there's actually an upload file. Oops, I missed the thing. But there's actually an upload file so that you can upload that and to do adjustments and things there.
Hold
And
on.
other
The
things that you can
upload
set in
file
here.
helps me to do what? I didn't catch that again.
I just and this it looks like I'm not as super like versed in the specifics of the OpenAI module itself,
Okay.
but
Okay.
like so you might need a little bit of toying around with it because I don't think we have any like specific deep dives into each individual model and what they can do, but you know, from here there's just steps that allow you to do kind of like what that particular model is expecting. So there's file ones that you could use. I guess this looks like it's for fine tuning. Maybe that's the only option we have at the moment.
Okay. Okay.
But you know, there's fine tuning options here. You can also have like set up chat completion where you can send in prompts either from the prompt service that you have if you've created your own with that menu that I showed briefly, or you can have it just come from your flow and get placed like directly into here and things like that. So all the other kind of like functionalities that you have with the various AI tools, you'll find steps in them within the all steps category. So then you can pass that data in, you know, ask the AI model to do something for you. You can ask it to output the data as JSON or whatever that you need to do from there.
Okay.
But that's where you can kind of play with these steps and look at exactly what they do. Without personally having the connections, I don't know if I can directly say like exactly what everything will do here, but I think this should at least give you a good place to start, you know, and start playing with some of the options that you have with the OpenAI module. And once you get your key and everything to connect it to, you can easily start using that to. But this is where you're going to make that connections with that module once you have
All steps.
your
Okay.
key and
All right.
everything like that.
All right.
And then
I'll do a thorough run. But if I want the AI to read the table, I have to check through all those things you just showed me and see if he has that capability, right?
yes,
Okay. Is it possible you pass a message down to Jessica the boss, the account manager for our company?
you want me to check in her with her about what? I can definitely send her a message.
Yeah, I've
I
sent
just
her
want to clarify.
emails and she's not replied. She's meant to reply back on a demo she's meant to give
Okay.
to my squad precisely. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll confirm with her. I can send
Just
her
say
a
from
message, just make sure.
Gabriel. Just say Gabriel, please.
Okay. Yep. I
Yeah.
can do that.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right.
Make
Thanks,
sure that
Jeremy.
she's. Yeah,
Can
of
you
course.
please upload this video on the
Yep.
YouTube channel so that I can probably have a read
Yes,
through as
I
well?
will upload those. You should see them up today by the end of the day for sure.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. All right. Well, we're getting close to the end of our time here. Last chance. Does anyone have any additional questions they'd like to ask before we end our lunch and learn for the day? All right. Well then, we can go ahead and end end our meeting for now. Thank you all for joining. For all of those of you that did join and ask questions, thank you for asking questions. Those that chimed in, thank you for helping. And we will continue with our lunch and learns next week. So a fresh set of questions, eyes, and everything on Monday next, or not Monday next week, sorry, Tuesday. Because of Labor Day, we will not be doing a lunch and learn. So just keep that in mind. We will not have a lunch and learn on Labor Day, but after that, we will continue the rest of the week. Thank you all for joining, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day and a great weekend.